Welcome to Extra Blue. I am your host, Elena Soneson. Thank you so much for being here. I am really excited to welcome today's guest, Sammy Smith, who is redefining what it means to be a multi-sport athlete. Sammy is a member of the U.S. ski team, a D1 soccer player at Stanford University, and one of the most exciting young athletes representing Team USA right now. At 19, she's a World Cup regular on the ski circuit with a silver medal from the 2024 World Junior Championships in Planica. She has been to numerous World Cups and has a growing reputation as one of the U.S. team's top sprinters. But her story goes far beyond skiing. When she's not chasing the snow, she's competing on the soccer field for the Stanford women's soccer team, one of the top collegiate soccer programs in the country. And she's already represented the U.S. at the Under-17 Women's World Cup, as well as the Pan American Games. Sammy grew up in Boise, Idaho, and spent her winters training in Sun Valley with her two siblings, Logan and Tucker, both incredible athletes in their own right. Her parents, both former athletes, encouraged the kids to try everything, and that foundation shaped Sammy into the athlete that she is today. She is competitive, she's joyful, and she is curious. She brings so much positive energy and grit and perspective. And today we are chatting about how she balances two elite sports at such an incredibly high level with some pretty fierce competitiveness, as well as what she's learned from setbacks and success, and what it really looks like to chase big dreams in both the summer and winter. So please join me in welcoming Sammy Smith to the show. This podcast is powered by Gear West, a specialty sports campus which has supported and inspired me for years. If you're near Minneapolis, their incredible 25,000 square foot store is just about 5 minutes west of Ridgedale and offers the largest Nordic selection in the country. And no matter where you are, their website is a fantastic resource for learning, motivation, and the gear. Everything you need to chase your goals in Nordic and alpine skiing, biking, running, and all kinds of cross training. Check out gearwest.com. I'm super grateful to have their support, and as a reminder, you can now watch these episodes on Gear West's YouTube channel. Okay, we have Sammy Smith on Extra Blue today. Sammy, thank you so much for joining me. I know you rushed back from soccer practice to get here, so I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to chat with me. How was soccer?
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me. It was, a fun day of practice and really excited to be on.
Yeah, you mentioned before we started recording that you had a scrimmage today. So how'd the scrimmage go?
Yeah, it was an inter-squad game because we had a bye week this week. It was fun. Always fun to have a game day and I get to play against your teammates. So it was a good day of practice.
Nice. Yeah. And remind me, are you a defense player?
Yeah, initially in club and all throughout high school, I played more outside forward and attacking mid. But since being here at Stanford, definitely been playing more outside back.
Okay, nice. Do you have a preference or do you like it all?
No, outside back has grown on me a lot. Initially, it was a bit of an adjustment, just because I've always been a very attacking-minded player. But it's always fun playing a new position, and I've definitely started to really enjoy it.
Yeah, very cool. Well, how's the season been so far?
Yeah, it's been a great start to the year. We started off really strong. Unfortunately, lost to UCLA, which was a bit of a bummer. But since then, we've gotten back on track, and we have a couple big games coming up. We play Virginia and Virginia Tech next week, which will be pretty critical for our positioning going into postseason play. But we're excited for those games and ready to get after it.
Very cool. So how much more of the regular season do you have before you kind of get into the championship style playing?
Yeah, so we have, we play Virginia Tech and Virginia next week. And then the following week we play Florida State and Miami. And then SMU comes to us and we play Berkeley. So we have 6 games left in our ACC play. And then it's the ACC tournament and then the NCAA playoffs.
Okay, and you are traveling all over the country for these races. That is insane. How are you doing that? Is that like fun and exciting every time you get to go on a plane with the team, or are you just like, oh my gosh, just get me there?
Yeah, it is really exciting. It's a little bit harder when we're in classes, of course, and especially with the us being in the ACC and being on the other coast, we have to leave on Tuesday mornings for all of our travel trips. So it means
Yeah.
missing Tuesday through Friday of school, which is a bit
Oh my
tough.
gosh, that's insane.
Yeah, and then usually our games are in the evening, and so we won't get back until 1 or 2 a.m. on like Sunday night, Monday morning, and then the week starts again. So, but the nice thing about being at a quarter system school is like we didn't actually start classes until September 22nd, and so we got two of
Okay.
our travel trips done before like we were even in class, which was great. So we
Okay.
didn't have to worry about the whole missing school front. So really, it's just our Florida trip in 2 weeks, and then yeah, just depending on postseason play.
Well, that sounds wild. How are you keeping up with school so far this term? Like, how is it going with all of that?
Yeah, it's been really good so far. Yeah, I really like my teachers. I have a few teammates in a couple classes, which has been fun. I've kind of finally narrowed in my major, which is nice too. So definitely taking some
Okay.
like more intentional classes instead of just
Nice.
everything all over the map. Yeah, it's been a good start to the year. Still very early, but things have been fun.
Yeah. Okay, so last year on the road, you were trying to explain to me like what your major was maybe going to be, and to me it sounded like eight different majors all wrapped up into one. So can you explain what you're thinking at this point and what does that look like?
Yeah, so I landed on something different than we were talking
Okay.
about.
Yeah.
No, I was everywhere, but I haven't decided on a minor, but potentially minor in either like data science, econ, or management science and engineering. But yeah, I think the major I'm locked in for environmental systems engineering, which I'm excited about.
Okay. Very exciting. Well, congrats. That's awesome to kind of feel like you've got that figured out and you can like really start working towards something and like take those classes with a lot of intent that way.
Yeah,
Okay, so can you also explain, so, you're crazy busy with soccer training and soccer traveling and school. Um, what does a typical day in the life of Sammy Smith look like these days?
that's a great question. Depends on the day. So our in the fall, because that's obviously our main competition season for soccer. We usually have 2 games a week on Thursdays and Sundays. And yeah, some of our games are home, some of our are away, but we train, the rest of the days. Mondays are our one off day, so a lot of us try and load up on classes on Mondays because we don't have any practice. So I'm in class from 10 a.m. till 5 p.m. on Monday, which is a bit rough, but
Hmm.
it's also worth it when it gives you a little bit more freedom throughout the rest of the week, and yeah, I can sneak a good workout in the morning or in the evening. Our weeks are a little bit funny because we practice at different times of the day, every day of the week. So it's always a challenge scheduling classes. Like on Tuesdays we have morning lift and then practice at 3:15. Wednesdays we have 9 a.m. practice. Thursdays we have either a game or 3 p.m. practice. And then Fridays we have 10 a.m. practice. So things are a little bit all over the map,
Wow.
but it's a fun
Yeah.
challenge. And yeah,
That's like a puzzle to try to figure out how can you actually take classes on top of that athletic schedule. So do you even like take that into consideration when you're trying to pick classes, or are you like, oh, I'm just gonna pick the classes I want to take and I'll talk to the professors and figure it out?
yeah, no, it's definitely a very big consideration because there's not really a we have a very strict like compliance coordinator, so we're not allowed to have
Hmm.
any practices that conflict with classes or that's a violation of the
Oh,
NCAA rules. So there's a lot of like super tedious planning and stuff going into it, and then yeah, like some really written approval for professors. It can be a bit of a challenge at times. It's really only the fall that it's pretty complicated, and then
yeah.
during the winter and spring, there's a lot more flexibility.
Okay. So you say there's a lot more flexibility, but you're also missing a lot of school in the winter time for ski racing. So how does that work then?
Yeah, so flexibility for non-winter sport athletes would have been a better way to
Uh,
phrase that. Um,
I see.
yeah, Yes, it's a little bit challenging because Stanford doesn't really have any online classes or
Hmm.
is really like set up to do a ton of online. There are a few classes that record lectures, which is really nice, but a lot of times you don't know what those classes are until you start
Hmm.
taking the class, and the professor's like, "Oh, by the way, I recorded the lecture." But I'm taking like a couple classes this fall that if there's like a component A to the course and a component B, and I spoke to the professors in advance, and component B apparently has like a lot of online flexibility, and so I try to plan my fall accordingly to set me up.
Okay. And how are you then balancing training for skiing throughout this soccer season, or are you even able to kind of do that at all at this point?
Yeah, a challenge trying to sneak it in around practices and games, but Mondays are off day. It's a great day for me to get in a really solid ski workout. And I think the like soccer is really good, like particularly since I am more of a sprinter in skiing. I think the high intensity, like repetitive sprints and stuff like that is like really complementary to ski training and
Hmm.
like good anaerobic conditioning. I'm fortunate to have a classic roller ski treadmill on campus, so I use that as much as I can. Unfortunately, the actual outside roller skiing is about as
Mm.
minimal as you can imagine, but
Yeah.
I do what I can, and try and be safe about things because a lot of cars around here, and even though there are some good bike lanes, there've definitely been a few like cyclist incidents recently. So my parents have me on
Yikes.
close watch.
Okay. Okay. Wait, so could you tell us more about the classic roller ski treadmill that you have on campus?
Yeah, so like Rick Apollo, former program director at SVSCF, he last year helped me kind of get the funding for one, and since then I have a little office space. I'm actually in it now, and that's where I keep the treadmill and am able to get to it when I can, and it's really nice because it's close to campus, and like in a very safe area. So if I'm there late at night and stuff, my parents don't have to worry about anything.
Yeah, okay. So you could literally say you're going to the office and you are going to go to an office space to go roller ski on a treadmill. Get some
Exactly.
work
That's why
done.
not that I just call it. I'm like, oh, I'm going to my little office space. Like no one really knows what's in the office, but
Yeah.
except me. So
They're probably like, oh, she's gonna go study in like a cubicle or
exactly.
something, right? Meanwhile, you're hammering out some double pole intervals or whatever it might be.
Yeah, you never know. It's a mystery.
You never know. Okay, cool. Um, so you feel like you can get in like the ski training just when it happens, when you have some downtime from soccer, and then also that that soccer training is very applicable to the ski training as well
Yeah,
with the
I would say
agility and
the
anaerobic
fall.
stuff.
The fall. Again, it's like our main soccer season, so I think my focus is inherently more on soccer, but I do as much ski training as I possibly can. It's a lot. I'd say like less like focused maybe than
Yeah.
and like not as concrete of a plan just because I do have to like be constantly evolving with my soccer training and stuff. But I think this year even done like figured out a better like routine and rhythm so things are working more in tandem. And so
Nice.
hopefully it'll be in a good place come winter.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm really curious from your perspective, like some of the similarities and differences that you witness being on two very different types of teams, right? You've got a college team sport team that you're on with all other women close to your age within probably a few years, right? Versus then you have this national ski team with men and women and athletes who are, between the age of 18 to 35, and you're traveling around the world with them competing in an individual sport. So when you put it on paper, those feel like very, very different types of teams. But I'm curious, do you feel like they are totally polar opposite? Do you feel like there are some similarities that you see, like when it comes to being a teammate?
Yeah, I mean, I think, obviously, like you mentioned, the sports are very different and like the team components are incredibly different. But I would say like the even though like cross country skiing, is inherently like an individual sport, I feel like at least with the US, it is such like a team sport. I think that's like been one of the most like fun things for me to like be part of the team, and like to be with such a amazing group of men and women is just, it's not like we're just like a group of individuals each vying to be the best, but like we really are, we're like working with each other. And that's the fun part about soccer too, is it's not there's not just one person on the field, it's all of us, we're all contributing at practice and in games. It's really fun like to be in soccer, and to have like a group of girls who are all around my same age, and a lot of them I've known for kind of getting close to like 8-10 years now, because we played against each other growing up. So and yeah, like now to be able to have those years in college with them, it's been really fun. And of course, like my sister is on the team as well, so it's been a pretty incredible experience to get to play with her. Yeah, so I'd say like both sports, it's such a fun environment, such a good team culture, and yeah, I'm lucky for sure.
Yeah. Do you feel like you show up as a teammate in the same way for both, or do you feel like it's kind of tailored differently for where you are in the world and what sport you're working on in that moment?
Yeah, I think I try and like be my authentic self, I guess, on any team that I'm on or whoever I'm with. I don't think that really changes a lot for me, like being on both teams.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say it's just kind of more like the little things, being there for your teammates, and like being excited for other people and celebrating their successes and stuff like that. So I think through the different sports that really doesn't change, which is nice.
Yeah, being, showing up, giving respect, caring for people, and there are only so many ways you can show up as a teammate. And so at the end of the day, it's like, you just got to be supportive of each other and work together towards one common goal. So you mentioned that your sister is on the soccer team with you, your older sister, Logan. And I do believe that you mentioned at some point last year that you were planning to room with her. Is that correct?
Yes, we are
Yeah.
we are roommates this year.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm curious, how's that going?
Yeah, I like it has always been my dream to play college soccer at Stanford, and the fact that I get to do it with my sister is such a privilege. And now this year to be living with her, yeah, it's been a great experience for me. And there, I don't know how many more moments in our life we'll have where we'll be in the same city, the same state, and yeah, just to have this time with her and to get to share some of the most memorable years of our life with each other has been really special.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you are both really close, and I admire that. I have an older sister, and I've always looked up to her. I have also had plenty of experiences where I bicker with my older sister, and I'm curious if you two ever bicker, and does that ever show up at practice or on the turf in any way, or do you bring, game drama back home with you two, or how does that work?
I think we've played on the same team since we were both about 5 years old. So we spent a lot of time together, like between soccer and we were on. She was a cross country skier as well, so we skied against each other. We ran track and cross country um, together as well. So we've spent our lives competing with each other. I think that's something we've really learned to embrace, and it's been an exciting part of our relationship. And I think both of us are like very mature about it, and we've never let um, those sort of experiences like interfere with our relationship with one another. And of course there's like little sister things that come up, but I think yeah, for the most part we get along super well. And like we recognize how much of a privilege it is to be on the same team together, and yeah, just like, try and cherish those opportunities. But yeah, it's been great.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I feel like that would have been really special to I mean, I was on the same high school team with my sister and I loved it so much. It would have been really cool to do something like that in college as well. So, yes, I'm happy that you are cherishing those moments while you get them. And you've talked a little bit about your childhood and how, you said your sister used to cross country ski as well, but I'm curious, like from your perspective, when did you start cross country skiing? How did you pick it up? How did it fit within the Smith family calendar? And what is it, part of your entire family story, or is it kind of just part of who you are? How does that all fit in?
Yeah. So my both my parents grew up skiing. Neither of them really cross country skiing, but I was on skis before I could walk. Just like my mom holding me up as
Yeah.
going down the little magic carpet. So skiing has been part of my life for as long as I can remember, and like such an important part of like our family's lives and the time we spent together as well. Um, yeah, I initially started cross country skiing because Logan was skiing, and naturally I wanted to do everything that she was doing. So
Yeah.
I was on the Devo ski team, but it was really like freestyle skiing that was my true passion. I was pretty certain I was going to be a mogul skier, and that's what I was going to do. It wasn't until my sophomore year of high school, and I fractured my tibia that fall. So it was hard for me to jump in the winter, and I was having a lot of pain where my boot was hitting the fracture, and so I couldn't really do as much freestyle that year, and so I decided that I would prioritize cross country skiing. I ended up having a pretty good season. I qualified for World Juniors, had some good results there. Yeah, that's when I made the team. So, and yeah, after that, that really kind of solidified my love for the sport, and yeah.
Did you, in that moment, I mean, it sounds like uh, you've probably processed things a lot now because it's been many years since that tibia injury and having to kind of walk away from free skiing, but or freestyle, correct me if I'm not using the correct
Freestyle,
terminology.
yeah.
um, but was that something where you were like, oh, that's okay, like I've got cross country skiing to move to, so I'll put all of my eggs in that basket? Or was that hard for you to kind of let go of?
Yeah, I mean, initially I didn't really view it as like letting go at all. It was more of I like genuinely could not jump without being in pain,
Mm.
so it was like not really an option for me to do much freestyle that winter. So I was like, okay, it's just kind of naturally happening that this season I'll focus more on Nordic. I'll have a fun year. I honestly was kind of expecting it would potentially be my last year doing cross country skiing,
Okay.
because things were getting harder and harder to balance between soccer and freestyle. And I was like, these are my two main sports. It's too hard to juggle a third in there. I was also running track and cross country for my high school team, and I was playing hockey too. So there was a lot of
Whoa.
sports in the and yeah. But then that season, I've always been like really passionate about like being active, and like I love to train and stuff. And I think that aspect of cross country skiing has always been something that's really resonated with me. And that winter, when I truly got to focus it on and just like hone in on the training and like really enjoy some of those race experiences instead of always feel like, oh, I'm here and now I'm missing out on something for freestyle, and kind of this constant back and forth. It like really helped me like develop an appreciation, and yeah, I really fell in love with the sport. And yeah, I knew after that year that I was going to stick with it and see how far I could take it.
Yeah, that's cool. And remind me, that was your junior year then?
Sophomore year.
Sophomore year. Wow. Okay.
Mhm.
So you are doing all of these sports at such a young age, balancing so many different types of sports and different types of athleticism as well. And I know that oftentimes athletes at such a young age can be pressured by coaches to pick one sport to specialize in and to go all in on. And there's a book that I actually read recently. It's called Up to Speed. And it's about bringing women's sports up to speed with men's sports, and how there hasn't been enough research on women's sports compared to men's sports, or athletic, female athletes versus male athletes. And a lot of the research that was in that book was saying that for younger athletes, if they specialize at a young age, like say under 12 to 14, and they decide, I'm going to go all in on hockey, right? They are going to be a superstar. They're probably junior year of high school. And then most of them don't make it to college with that sport, or beyond college with that sport. Versus athletes who decide to continue to pursue a variety of different types of sports, then make it in one sport at a super high level of success much later in life. So, for example, if they play multiple sports throughout middle school and high school, then in their mid 20s, they can find so much more success in one of those sports because they've brought in all of those different kind of like developmental skills and tools that they learned from the different sports. And so it basically says, like, okay, if you want to specialize at the age of 12, you'll be a superstar your junior year of high school, and then you probably won't ever touch the sport again. Versus if you maintain many different sports throughout your high school career, then you can be a superstar to a much bigger degree, or bigger stage later on in life. And I'm curious, like, do you have anything to say about that? Do you feel like have you heard that before, or have you, like, yeah, any reaction to that?
Yeah, it's been a conversation that we've, had in my household probably no short than a couple thousand times.
Yeah.
I'd say when I was, really young, I was like doing gymnastics pretty competitively, and I was like only like 7 years old at the time. But I had a coach told me that tell my mom that she had to start homeschooling me, and I had to quit all other sports if
Yeah.
I wanted to stick with it, and it was a non-negotiable in our household, and like that was not something I was willing to do, and my my parents completely understood that and respected that, and it's because of like both of them and what they were willing to sacrifice for my siblings and I that like we were all kind of allowed to pursue so many different interests, and they like totally encouraged it and supported us. Really, they just wanted us to find like what we're passionate about and kind of throw ourselves into that. And for me, I landed on cross country skiing and soccer, but it took me a long time to get there, and all my brother and sister, we all did a lot of different sports growing up, and I think truly like learned the value of sport and what it means to be on a team and how to compete with each other and against different people. And also like we gained a lot from like being in those different environments. I
Mhm.
played football since I was 6 years old. I played flag football until junior high, and then I played tackle football in junior high. So I
Oh,
think that just
wow.
like the cutting and the change of direction in that sport has been like hugely beneficial in soccer for me. And then yeah, like I mentioned, I played hockey. I think that's also been like a big part of like the change of direction and learning how to go and strong to a tackle, and like body positioning and stuff like that. And obviously there are great parallels you can draw between track and cross country running and skiing as well.
Mhm.
So I think like truly, like you mentioned, doing different sports really does add so much value for individuals, and not only like from like a physical standpoint but also from like the social and cognitive, developmental benefits too.
Yeah. Yeah, no kidding. Um, I have to imagine that you have, beyond the gymnastics coach when you're super young, I have to imagine that you've also faced additional pressure, to pick one sport. And I mean, you already have narrowed it down, right? You've narrowed it down to two pretty main sports versus the dozen that you had been participating in throughout middle school, maybe. But I'm curious then, like, how do you maybe handle some of that pressure that you might receive?
Yeah, I would say especially as I got into high school, I definitely had a lot of coaches, certainly more in the soccer world, uh, strongly advising me that it was time to specialize. And I was doing myself a disservice by continuing to ski because it was, detracting from my performance on the field, and I wasn't able to put in the same hours as other players were, and that was gonna leave me off of rosters and like potentially like interfere with how far I could go with the sport. But I think both my parents and I recognized that at that time, and I was not in a place where I felt like I could fully commit myself to a singular sport, and I'm not there either. Like I truly have so much love for both sports, and I really can't imagine just choosing one. I think that's been the biggest thing is like just doing what makes me happy, and knowing that even though there might be some coaches or some people who disagree with it, it's like ultimately what I'm happiest with. And I know both sports are sports you can pursue for a long time. So I think if and when I do get to that point and know what I want to choose, like I'll be like really content with my decision and excited to go forward.
Yeah. Okay, well, you're clearly balancing both, and as you mentioned, there are plenty of, physical overlap where one skill that you might gain from soccer will help you benefit in skiing and vice versa. Skiing can help you benefit in soccer from a physical perspective. But I'm also curious then from like a mental and emotional perspective, how you can switch back and forth between these two different environments. I mean, I remember last winter we were competing on the World Cup in Falun, and you were telling me about how you were going to fly back to California the next day, and the morning after you land, you were going to have to go run the beep test for your soccer team, and then go to class also. And I was like, oh my gosh, I like cannot wrap my head around that right now. How would you go do that? So I'm curious then, just like how do you end up switching gears almost more like mentally than physically between those two sports?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, honestly, has just that I've had a lot of practice with it, and I've been in so many environments where I've been going like straight from one sport to another that I've gotten like really good at differentiating between the two, but also, kind of like picking and choosing my moments and realizing there are times when I'm not always going to be at my best for one sport, and that is a consequence of doing um, multiple things. But I'd say like I guess mentally for me, it's not really like much of a switch in mindset, just kind of like more of a I'm trying to think of the best the best way to word this. Um like I would say it's just more like kind of like reframing what I'm doing instead of like
Hmm.
thinking about it as doing like something entirely different. It's I'm still in like the same like competitive environment and striving to be the best version of myself. It's just and one I've got skis and wax slapped on my feet, the other I've got cleats and studs. So I'd say it's kind of like being in that competitive environment for both sports really translates well to the other, and it's yeah like more just about kind of being there and being present where I am rather than focusing so much on the back and forth.
Yeah. Okay, so you talk about that competitive environment, and clearly there is some competitiveness in, I mean, to be an athlete, you have to be competitive, right? So you bring that competitiveness to the soccer field, to the ski race. Um, you're clearly driven academically as well. And I'm curious, is there anywhere in life where you aren't competitive?
Say growing up in my household, you kind of had to be competitive. um just especially like I was the middle child, and so I've got my older sister, and I wanted to do everything that she was doing, and then I also had my younger brother, and he was pushing me in different ways too. So, like, and it was such a fun environment to grow up in because I felt like I was always being challenged, and there was always something going on in my household. Um, but I would say I carry that competitiveness in probably all aspects of my life.
Yeah. Do you feel like are you competitive with your like the opposing team or the opposing ski racer, or are you competitive with like the soccer ball or the ski course, like the snow? Or are you competitive with Sammy? Like where is that competitiveness? What is it geared towards or pointed at?
I would say I would like to say that all of my competitiveness is like rooted internally and not on external factors. Um, because I think it's really important to focus on yourself and what drives you and not get caught up in other people's performances or stuff like that. But uh, inherently, I think people often look to others too, and I would say a lot of my competitiveness comes from within and wanting to be the best version of myself I can be. But I don't really think I can get there without looking to others and striving to be
Hmm.
as good as they can be and kind of viewing them as like role models and people who I can try and emulate.
Hmm. Yeah, that makes sense a lot. I feel like you have to have um like you want to see something and then you see that and you're like, well, I believe I can do that. So then you become competitive with uh maybe that individual, but also with yourself to say like, I can do that. I believe I can. So
Mhm.
now self, we're gonna go do that, right? Um, I'm so curious then how you approach something like a soccer game versus a ski race, like from the mental perspective. Do you get nervous for either? Do you get more nervous for one versus the other? How do you handle those nerves? Is it like the night before, the morning of? What does that look like?
Yeah, I definitely get very nervous for both. I would say I probably get quite a bit more nervous for ski races than soccer games, and I guess it depends on the soccer game. But yeah, I think skiing just because it is like so when you're on the race course, it's, you know, it's very individual. It's you out there
Yeah.
and you have to be at your best. And I think like I've, you know, sometimes will feel like a lot of pressure to perform and stuff like that. And I think that can be nerve wracking and be emotional and stressful at times. But on the soccer field, I think it's a little bit different because when you step on the field, you see 10 other players who are on the field with you. And, you know, each and every one of them have your back. And not that your teammates in skiing don't have that, but it's different when you're all racing at different times and stuff like that. So I think I would say I do tend to get more nervous for ski races than soccer games, but I can, I'm nervous for both. But I think I've done a lot better in kind of channeling those nerves into something productive and intentional. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, you are clearly a very busy lady. I'm curious, like, how are you keeping up with all of it? Your flight itineraries, your school homework, your practice, like, what are you doing to preserve your energy, or what are you kind of doing to give back to Sammy to say, like, okay, this is the reward, or like, this is your downtime? Like, what is, how are you handling all of that then?
Yeah, I would say, you know, times are very busy, especially when trying to balance everything. I like to think of myself as a very efficient person. So
Okay.
I try and be as productive with my time as possible and get things done as quickly as I can. Like quality work, of course, but just like be smart and intentional with how I time things. Like I've tried to structure my class schedule this fall to be to back things up and to group things so I can have, you know, larger blocks of free time instead of these like awkward moments between classes where you don't really have enough time to study, but you also like aren't going right from one to the other. So I
Hmm.
try and pack things as best as I can. But my favorite way to kind of like de-stress, I guess, is to spend time with my dog. And
Yeah.
the week before we started classes, my mom and dad drove him down to have a week here with my sister and I. So that was incredibly fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I'm at home, I'm always with him. I love to take him on long walks, just play with him, spend time. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Well, so that kind of leads me to my next question. If you had a day to yourself in the summer with no soccer practice and no intentional ski training on the plan, you're not taking a summer class for school, you have the day to yourself, there's no family obligation, nothing at all. How would you spend that day?
Okay, I would be in Sun Valley or
Okay.
potentially in the Stanley area.
Okay.
I would go for a great mountain run.
Okay.
You know, like something really fun and like adventurous too, probably to an alpine lake.
Yeah.
And then I would come back, you know, have a great I would grab Maverick, my dog, and we would go I would take him swimming and we'd go spend the day. I'd, you know, throw the stick for him, we'd go swimming, and go for a great hike together. That's the ideal day. And coupled with some great food.
Great food. What would you pick as your great food to top it all off with?
Ooh. Um, there's a couple really good restaurants in Ketchum that I love. One of them like is a local spot called the Pioneer Saloon. Um, there's just yeah, I guess like very local, very authentic Sun Valley. And they have some great dessert there too. So
Nice.
that would definitely be one of my favorites. My mom is also an incredible cook. So and especially like being at college and you know not having her cooking for 10 months out of the year.
Yeah.
Every time I go back, I'm just excited to have her food. So I'd say yeah, going to a restaurant in Sun Valley with my family or having one of my mom's home cooked meals be the ideal
That
dinner.
sounds wonderful. Um, okay, so can you tell me now? I'm going to switch directions. Um, can you tell me about your foundation, Go Big?
Oh yes.
How what was the original inspiration to launch this foundation? What is the foundation, and how did you kind of get it off the ground?
Yeah, so during the COVID pandemic, obviously we and I know schools across different states did things differently, but like my public school in Idaho, we didn't have class from March until the start of school in August because they couldn't guarantee that you know all students had electronic devices and you know access to those resources. So in that time away from class, like all my siblings and I have like, inherently had like a really strong desire to help others. But my mom and dad thought it would be really good to do something intentional with our time and to like be very directed. We recognized there was like a big opportunity within our community that we could help. And my mom's a lawyer, so she's a very strong legal background, and she was the one who kind of helped get Go Big off the ground. And yeah, Go Big stands for Giving Opportunity by Inspiring Gratitude. And there's been a lot of research to suggest that if you are someone like who receives something like very generously and are grateful for that, you're more likely to pass on those feelings to others. And so the idea is kind of like if we help others, maybe they're more inclined to help other people as well.
Hmm.
And through Go Big, we focus on some of the underserved communities near we live in Boise, Idaho, and like particularly helping them out through like mentorship and athletic and academic resources. I'd say like some of the most probably the most memorable event we've done for me has been like offering swim lessons to a lot of kids who do not have access to water.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, there have been quite a few deaths in the Boise community. Like people float the river, but there have been like unfortunate situations with drowning and stuff like that. So we recognized that was like a problem, and a lot of people don't have access to pools or cannot afford to have swim lessons or to teach those kids. So we brought a lot of kids. We rented out a pool and did a lot of swim sessions with honestly like a lot more kids than we expected to show up came.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was like pretty incredible just to be in the water with them. And a lot of them, it was their first time ever actually getting in a pool. And so
Yeah.
like to see how scared they were initially, like from getting wet to, by the third or fourth session to see them like voluntarily jumping in the water. That was a pretty special experience.
Yeah, that sounds really special. And I didn't realize that Go Big stands for Giving Opportunity by Inspiring Gratitude. And I think there's something really beautiful in that. And this idea of like passing on the opportunities that, what you can give can then affect so many other people down the road. It's not just one individual. So um, that's really amazing. And I'm curious then, is there a future plan for Go Big? Is that something that you and your siblings and your family is like, are you all actively trying to grow it? Is it kind of like you've got the foundation and it's kind of there operating on its own in the background? What does that look like going forward?
Yeah, I think we're always looking to do more, and unfortunately, it's a little bit more challenging with us off at college now. But I've already been talking to my mom about different events we can plan for either this winter during Christmas break or when we get back next summer. But last spring, my brother did another cycle of swim lessons with a large group of kids, which was really fun. And I fun for him, and I wish I could have been part of things, but it's yeah, no, I think like especially being at college, it's even giving me like a greater appreciation for the upbringing that I did have, and to have like such supportive and encouraging parents, and just recognizing that a lot of kids don't grow up with that. So I know like being part of Go Big and continuing to do events and to help out kids in our community is something I really want to strive to do more of.
Yeah. Well, I love that. Thank you for sharing all of that. I really appreciate you sharing your time today with me. And I just have a couple kind of wrap-up questions for you. But I just want to say that, Sammy, you are an inspiration to everyone that comes into your vicinity. And it's always really fun to cheer for you, whether that be at a soccer game or at a ski race with you or in the ski race with you. It's really fun to cheer for you, cheer next to you. And I'm excited to see you this winter. So I'm curious, speaking of which, do you know what your winter looks like? Uh, can you give us any hint of like when we'll see you on skis?
Yeah, I mean that's a great question because postseason play for soccer is so unpredictable. Like we don't know, how far we're gonna make it in the tournament or stuff like that. So I'd say right now things are a little bit in flux for me.
Yeah.
I don't. I'm hoping that we'll make it to the national championship and hopefully take home a national title. But it's things can happen. Obviously, sport is very unpredictable, so at this point, I'm kind of just, taking things as they go,
Mhm.
trying, to see, but for sure, planning to be at US Nationals and, hopefully have some good races there. I've never skied on the East Coast, so that's a little bit exciting for me, but,
Wow, really?
um,
Oh my
that,
gosh.
so, I'd say, and, if opportunity presents itself and I'm able to get to period one, then, I'm excited to race there, but just at this point in time, kind of, I'm not trying to, I guess, think too far out because it doesn't
Yeah,
really do me a whole lot of good when there's so many different factors. But yeah, I'm excited for the
yeah,
ski season, and yeah, hopefully I'll be able to have some. Yeah.
yeah. Okay, do your soccer teammates know what you're up to in the wintertime? Or do they just like, oh, Sammy's
Well,
gone?
I was gone a little bit. Yeah, last winter, and so I did tell them. Of course, I had to talk to my coaches about things, so they know I ski. I think a lot of my teammates are from California or you know areas with a less predominant ski culture. So
Yeah.
I don't think many of them like fully grasp what cross country skiing is, but
Okay.
they know I ski. So
Okay, maybe the Stanford women's soccer team can do a little retreat or something up to Truckee, and you can get them all on skis and show them, hey, this is what I'm doing. Oh,
well, that would be good. Also, probably a little terrifying.
yeah, okay. Okay. Can you share a highlight from your one personal highlight from your soccer career and then one highlight from your ski career that you've had?
Say highlight from my soccer career would probably be playing in the Pan American Games a few years ago. I think like that was just such an incredible opportunity because we were like not only to be in that environment, but we were also the only youth team there. So we were playing against full women's national teams,
Oh,
which was like
wow.
a pretty crazy experience. And yeah, just to get to see the level, and we ended up winning bronze too, which was really exciting. And my parents were there, which made it even more special. And
Yeah.
then I would say for skiing, definitely the Minneapolis World Cup. I think that
Yeah.
environment, like, is yeah, it was just insane. I think like seeing all of the U.S. fans and how much of even though we don't get to do a ton of domestic racing, just see how much people care and how willing they are to support all of us was pretty special. And I had a lot of my family there too, which made it even more memorable.
Yeah. Minneapolis was really special. Definitely a day I will never forget, or weekend I will never forget, I should say.
Yeah.
And people can come see it again at the Lake Placid World Cup this winter. Come March, see us there, World Cup finals. I hope
Yes.
every listener of this podcast is going to be there. Um, okay, final question. Who is your biggest role model?
That's a good question. I feel like I have to say both my parents, like for the sacrifices they've made for my siblings and I. My mom, like took a step back from a lot of the legal work she was doing to help raise my brother and sister and me. And just to see like how much she has given to us and like the opportunity she's provided us. Like none of it would be possible without her. And like just see how hard my dad works and he's an oncologist, so it's a very demanding job and a very like emotional and challenging job to see like what he puts them through and like collectively how much my parents have done for us so we can chase our dreams. It's not much like not many kids can say that their parents have truly given everything for them so they can succeed. But I really feel like my parents have done absolutely everything under the sun, so my siblings and I can have the best experiences we have and like the best chances in our life moving forward. So it's definitely both of them.
Okay, shout out to Sammy's parents. Sammy, thank you so much for taking the time during your busy, busy schedule to chat with me today. I really appreciate it. Best of luck the rest of this soccer season, and I hope that you go as far as you can with the soccer team. And I am so excited to see you at a ski race sometime soon.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been great talking with you, Elena.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Extra Blue, and thank you, Sammy, for taking the time to chat with me. I honestly am in disbelief that I was able to track her down for an hour of time amongst such a busy schedule, but also so grateful for the time she gave me. If you want to follow along with Sammy's journey, you can follow her on the Stanford women's soccer team. If you want to follow along with Sammy's journey, you can follow the Stanford women's soccer team. You can also follow Sammy on Instagram at Samantha Smith _7. And you can find more information about her family's foundation, Go Big, at gobiginc.com. I will leave a link to that in the show notes. In the meantime, please consider giving this podcast a rating and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or over on the Gear West YouTube channel. Thank you, Gear West, for the support of this podcast. I am back training at altitude once again, this time in Park City, Utah, and we just got some snow last night. Although we are still many weeks away from the first ski races of the season, I can't help but feel excited about the winter and what is coming this year. I went and played in the snow this morning during a pretty massive over-distance run in the mountains. And although I wasn't skiing on Extra Blue Kick Wax, it felt like one of those perfect Extra Blue days out there. So I hope you are finding those Extra Blue days wherever you are, no matter the weather, sun, snow, or rain. This Extra Blue mentality is one that is not weather dependent. So I hope you can get outside, enjoy the fresh air and the beauty wherever you are. And I'll see you next time.